Good morning, friends. I'm Steve Yulberg, and welcome to the Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. Dulcimer Crossing is an online resource. It is pre-recorded lessons for mountain and hammer dulcimer, chromatic mountain dulcimer, slide dulcibro, as well as fiddle, designed to equip people to play the music of their souls on the instruments of their choice. And we have nearly 20 instructors, over 200 courses, and thousands of hours of music lessons which have been recorded that you can access at your convenience. 3 different membership levels. We just sometimes forget to tell you all about that. We do this live kind of feed, but we do that as well. And so I just want to make sure that you know that's where I'm coming from, and that's where a lot of my time is spent. I've just finished uploading a brand new series for the website called Mountain Dulcimer Joy, which is based on, I put together 30 exercises for fingerstyle playing of mountain dulcimer to work on our fingering exercise, working on our individual fingering with this hand while we play familiar chord shapes to play a very familiar melody, but also explore a lot of different arranging options. And so there's 30 different exercises in 33 different lessons in this course, and it's now available on Dulcimer Crossing. It went live last week. I'm working on adding the hammer dulcimer version of that, and I'm very close to finishing. I don't know if it'll get done this week, but it's going to be there. So that's who is sponsoring this live stream. Today, I want to talk about the t-shirt I'm wearing. Pete Seeger says, the right song at the right moment can change history. That's, the quote with the banjo. How do you choose the right song for the situation? A lot of times we think we need to design something for a situation, and we can get over involved in how complicated it can be. Sometimes us creating the right song for the right situation is just exactly what needs to happen. But there are other times, and Pete tells in his, let me get the book so you can see it. In his Where Have All the Flowers Gone? A singer's story song, Seeds and Robberies. Bunch of stories and songs. He talks about one of those times when he was this was a Vietnam War protest that was at the Washington Monument on the Mall in Washington, D.C. And there were all these people there. One of the things people understand is that when you have lots of people, if they can sing, there is power in the singing, and it can unify a group. It can unify them, obviously, for positive and negative ends. So choosing the right song is really important. And there were people trying to sing very complicated songs, and there were hundreds of thousands of people that were there. I don't know what the sound system was like, but in places like that, there's going to be echo. And so what you say now is going to be heard by those people in a little bit of time, because light travels faster than sound. It's physics, all that kind of stuff. Well, it was time for Pete. Everybody was having struggle. They could not get the people singing together. So what he did was get his guitar, and he said he had his big 12 string. I don't have my 12 string in here, but he started doing this hemiola kind of rhythm, which is one that comes from the Caribbean. And he used a Beatles song, but only the chorus. And that is what unified the whole crowd. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. 9 words, one little phrase, repeated over and over again, 3 chords. All we are saying is give peace a chance. And the tempo of the song is, there's a lot of movement in there with that hemiola rhythm, but the tempo of the song made it possible for this hundreds of thousands of people to all start swaying together and all start singing together. And it took what was a very chaotic event and turned it into a moment in a movement. It was so very, um Pete just commented on, this was the right song at the right moment. And it took what was going on when you're in crowds like that, they can easily become mobs, or they can be a force for positive change. Now if you don't want the change, you're going to describe it as a mob. I understand that. But what it took was something that was very chaotic and turn it into something very cooperative, where people were excited to take part and join in. So when are those situations, when do those things arise for us? There's lots of times those things arise for us. At the Women's March in January of 2017 in San Francisco, I'd never ever seen so many people on the BART. It wasn't for a sports event, for anything else. When we went downtown from San Mateo down to San Francisco, it was just an amazing crowd of people, all standing up and saying, we support life, we support women, we value all people. And we're walking in this crowd, and my daughter of a folk singer, she says, Dad, shouldn't we be singing? And I thought, oh, you're right, we should be singing. I said, what should we sing? And she said, I don't know. And she's going through some songs, and she's processing in her mind, what are the ones that we could sing, that other people could start singing along. We didn't have any instruments, it's just our voices. And as we had just started walking in the big mass of the parade, the march that was going down, heading toward Market Street, to walk down Market Street, which is where in San Francisco all the big gatherings take place. And so I started singing, this land is your land, this land is my land. And that is the one that everybody around us started singing. And as we started singing, she was coming up with some new verses, remembering the next one. We were taking turns, and the people all around us started singing, and it went from just us, and it spread out. And I looked up, and there was someone that was in the window with a camera and a little notebook, taking notes and taking pictures. And I thought, well, there's a reporter. That must be, because they were in the vantage point to observe rather than to take part. And the next day in the San Francisco Chronicle, it said, San Francisco sings This Land Is Your Land. And I copied it and sent it to my daughter and said, this was your idea. Because she was, we should sing. And what should we sing? Well, how about this line? That's it. That's the song. And it was the right song at the right moment. It bound the people together with one vision for what we were doing. We went on with a couple of other ones that are very good movement type songs. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. Now that comes from spirituals. It comes from the African American spiritual tradition. It comes from civil rights. It comes from, how can I be the most positive part of me that I can, and how can I'm going to let it shine no matter what happens. And then it becomes a zipper song when you can add, where might we need this to shine? Even when I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine. So it's the right song adapted for the right circumstance. And this is really important to know, that we have these songs in us, and these songs are also a part of the culture. Sometimes, not always. We live in this microclimate, and there are so many different genres now that didn't used to happen. So many different ways for people to capture, record, capture, save, disseminate music, whether it's visually or just audibly. That there isn't what looked like the kind of monoculture thing that was happening when I was a child. There were three stations, if you could get three, depending on where you lived in the country. There, or it's kind of an establishment media. And now we have people that want to choose what their own facts are and leave other facts out and act like what they're talking about is something real. And, it is. If you look, just like, if I look through the crack in the door, I can see this much, but if I open the door, I can see this much, and this much, and this much may not tell the same story. In fact, they won't. And so I think it's in this kind of micro, some real close focus, we can miss the whole forest because we're just looking at one leaf on one tree in that corner of everything. We need to look at the whole forest and how does this affect everything. And so we have all these things. How do we distill it? How do we not just drown in a fire hydrant of stuff? How do we choose? Well, that was the other. I have some colleagues that Emma's Revolution is the name of the duo. Pat Humphreys and Sandy Opatello, and they were moving from New York to Washington, D.C. on September 11th, 2001. I was driving to the Walnut Valley Festival that day and stopped in to get a cup of coffee at the Kansas Welcome Center. And the person in there said, "Did you see this?" And I watched the plane hit the second tower. And it was like, what? The first one was on fire and smoking, and then the second one, and then the first one came down. And it was like, and then I drove through Kansas at a time when, for the first time, there were no airplane contrails in the sky, and listening on the radio. Well, Sandy and Pat were moving to Washington, D.C. from the place that was attacked by the planes in New York to the place where the Pentagon was attacked by planes. And they we're moving our livelihood from one city to the other, and both of them were under attack. And they came back when there was an opportunity to have the gathering in New York, and they were invited to sing. They were well known as people who sang as movement singers, people who sang topical songs focused on social justice movements. And they were trying to figure out, how do we get 7 million people? I think 3 came to the parade. How do you get 3 million people singing the same thing? Well, Sandy knew Hebrew. They both knew English, and they went to the library and found out, what does it look like when you say salam? Whoops, let me use my other hand. Salam in Arabic, shalom in Hebrew, peace in English. And they printed up these t-shirts, which were the lyrics of their song. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. 3 words is the chorus of this song. 1 meaning, 3 different languages. And the next day on the New York Times, it says, New York sings peace in 3 languages. And they said, we didn't realize we became a t-shirt company because they were singers, but everybody wanted to have these lyrics. They wanted to have the t-shirt and hoodies and all that kind of thing. But they were finding it's time to create the right song for this moment, using what Pete Seeger had talked about earlier. What's going to be accessible? What can people sing? What can move these people? What can bind them together? And the reason I'm telling you these stories and sharing these songs with you is because we never know when we're going to need the song. And we often, if we are so tied to our paper or to our iPads or something that we will get to that situation and think we have nothing. There's a guy in the Bay Area who writes music, plays his mountain dulcimer, and he came to a gathering that we were having, and he brought a little stool, because often mountain dulcimers need a stool, and he sat down, he started playing, and we were trading songs, taking turns, and he started singing this one that was very heartfelt and very lyrically dense and really hard to sing along with. but it was his. It was his song. He was particularly moved by it and singing it with a lot of passion, but it was not one that was the right one for this moment. It was a great song, all that stuff. It didn't do what was called for at the time, which was gathering the people together into one. Now, there's a time to listen and there's a time to speak. There's a time to sing along and there's a time to listen to other people singing. And we have to gauge that. We have to be in tune as musicians. We are listening. We have two of these and one of these. and and sometimes the best thing to do is nothing with this. It's just to play, because the melody itself will do it. Or because of my work with preschool children and parents who are afraid of singing because they're afraid that they have a bad voice, because some um, I'm going to put the most charitable construction on it. Some frustrated or fearful person once told them, "You just mouth watermelon, don't sing." And when you say that to someone at whatever age they are, it is a death dealing sentence, because people start doubting their own lived experience, their own voice, the spark of creativity in their soul, when you tell them you're ruining our group thing, don't participate. I just can't go there. Can't go there. Um, what you're doing may not enhance this moment at this point, and we need to maybe take turns, and one person step forward, one person step back. That there's a lot of ways to deal with that. Besides, we want this to sound nice, you shut up. We get enough of those messages in our life. And as Woody Guthrie was invited to sing for something, he told him, "Well, here, okay, I'll be glad to sing for you or write a song for our cause." And he said, "Well, it's going to cost this much." And he goes, "But it's a good cause." He says, "Honey, I don't sing for bad causes. I have no reason to sing that's going to in any way put somebody down." Or as Wanda Sykes recently said, "I don't throw stones down. I throw stones up. I got to speak truth to power. I'm never gonna I'm never gonna put down someone who's below. I'm always going to look at the hypocrisy of the one above." And I mean, it's where are we standing? Where are we looking? Um, what's happening in this moment is all of that stuff. Well, when you work with children, um, they know they have boundless creativity. It's what they're just chock full of, and it just keeps going. It's like popcorn kernels that can't stop popping. And they don't know that they're seen until you receive it. I was just talking about this with a physical therapist this morning. He was talking about on 2 days a week, he gets to be the one that's home with his daughters who are 2 and 4. And he says, and after breakfast, we have our dance party. It's like, oh, I want to be in your house. This is the house to be in. And he's noticing the difference between his two daughters at two different stages of musical development plus personality. Which one likes to sing? Which one likes to shake her booty, and in what way? Um, when we do that, when we welcome those gifts, when we support those gifts, they get stronger and people trust what's going on. So when I'm in these classes and I'm inviting parents to sing along, because there's no sound that children trust more than the sound of the one who loves them saying their name with love. Usually a parent, right? Grandparent, caregiver. When that person is doing what we want the group to do, they're more likely to try it. So I always tell people in our music together classes, you're really the goal here. You do what I do. I do what I do. You do what I do. Your kids may do it. They may just want to observe. That's fine. We're not trying to get them to do something. I'm trying to get you to do something, because that will encourage them to do something. So I have this invitation for you to do what I'm doing. And if they do it, we're going to have this is going to be this grand time. But I'm also looking for their ideas. So if we're doing a song that has some motions like this, and one of the kids start clapping, I'm going to clap, and I'm going to make sure that the person who started it, we're going to clap like Cindy. They know their idea got used, and that is so empowering. That can be the right song. Just accepting and including somebody else's idea is huge. And and they know that they have a way to have impact in history. Now, when I'm with people who are playing music, they may have worked really hard on something and they want to share this at this time. Maybe it's possible to carve out some space so they can do it. Maybe it's not the right moment, but it's the right song in a moment. So we always have to be looking beyond what I like and what are my preferences to what's going to serve this community at this moment. That's a part of what is the right song at the right time. And sometimes the song you plan to do is not the one that's going to work the best. You have to pivot and change your mind and adapt. And yeah, I just saw your comment, Doug. It's a Pete Seeger shirt. You're right. And there's a banjo right there, and my band jammer's right over there. Sometimes the instrumentation makes a big difference, but often it's the presence of whoever is leading that makes the big difference in how they welcome what is being brought. So, how does that affect my practice time? Play the music you love. There may be the music you have to play because you're working with an instructor, you're taking a class, and this is what's there. You signed up for one and it turned out to be different than what you thought it was going to be. And now you're kind of, I don't know if this is going to be valuable for me. There's always something valuable, always something I can learn. When I go to an open mic, which is a place where people are sharing music, I always know that I'm going to be touched and moved by something. I don't know what it's going to be. And sometimes it's not the best song. It's not the best performance. I'll usually take my journal so I can just write down the name of the person, what their song is, and something about the song. And I'll go back and look later. And inevitably, 1/3 of the people, they're ready for prime time. What they're doing is they're polished, they're honed, they're comfortable, they're sharing something very, very finished. 1/3 of the people are not quite ready for prime time. They could use some polishing, they could use some rehearsal, confidence, all those kind of things. And 1/3 are just stepping out there and trying it. And they stumble over things, they forget lyrics. I do that, by the way. They forget how the song goes. They might have a false start before they really get going. They're self-apologetic. But 1/3 like that, 1/3 just need a little polishing, and 1/3 that's ready to go. That's a good percentage. And it's happened every single open mic that I've gone to. Yeah. Yeah, when they're a little bit younger, sometimes what they're saying is not a comment on the vocal quality or the pitch quality of the parent. They're just finally being able to hear their voice distinct from the parent. So when kids in my classes are putting their hands over their parent's mouth, what they're saying is the parent feels bad. And it's like, no. This is developmentally appropriate. They are hearing their own voice for the first time, and they need to be able to hear that. And that's a stage of musical development. I can hear my voice distinct from everyone else. When they're older, it's a different thing. It's starting to be peer pressure. They're starting to measure against some other expectations. And so, yes, I know that does break your heart. But the other thing Pete Seeger said when he got older and his voice started getting weaker, and he said, I just can't sing. He came back to being able to, but he went through a period where he just couldn't. He said, now that I can't sing, everybody wants me to. And he discovered at that moment the best thing to do was get everybody else started singing. So he would choose the songs that he knew they knew and start it and then let them sing, and he would direct and play. And that's how that worked. Yeah, you sang anyway. Yay. Good for you. Good for you. Well, as I practice, I'm looking for the music that I love, the music that moves me, the music that also might be valuable for something coming up. Sometimes we're preparing for what we don't know we're preparing for. Other times we know there's a deadline, like I'm playing in the quarantine concert. I'm thinking about what's the set list going to be. It's going to be very short and prescribed because we get this short amount of time. Festivals are always like that, whether they're online or in person. And to be respectful of all the other artists, I got to make sure I don't go over my time. Because as someone who plays later in a concert, when the first people lose themselves in the music and they go way longer than their time, it does not create goodwill for the other performers. Even if the audience is really into it, it makes it more difficult for everyone else. And I want to be respectful, not just of the audience, but of my colleagues. And so I don't always get it right, but I'm aiming to try to get it right. Sometimes the right song is the one you don't sing because you ran out of time. So that's coming up. So I'm thinking about what's the music I'm going to do there and what's the set going to be. I have some time to plan for that. When we're walking in the parade or in the march, we don't have any. There's no time to prepare or think. We just have to draw on the reserves we have. My wife's church, of which I'm a part, took part in the Pride Parade in Boise on Sunday, which was the largest one they've ever had in 30 some years. There were some people that were doing their best to destabilize and frighten people, which caused some sponsors of the whole event to pull out and brought more sponsors in. They didn't lose any money. The people that were trying to denigrate the experience actually attracted more support. There were counter protesters or protesters that were there trying to disrupt us as faith communities as we provided our support and solidarity. And I was thinking of what song would work here, and sometimes it comes later. Sometimes it doesn't come at the moment. At that time, it was like, shake the dust off my shoes. It's time for us to walk. Get on board, little children. This train's a moving. It's just like, this train is going to walk down this street. This train is going to walk down this street. And the people behind us were from a Presbyterian church, had a great sign on, or shirts on, very colorful, that said, Jesus loves you. You are fabulous. And they're saying, we need a chant. What should our chant be? And they were trying to come up with something that wasn't working. I just turned around and said, your chant is, you are fabulous. You are fabulous. And they started chanting it the rest of the parade, and the crowd joined in because they could. It had rhythm. It had the word fabulous, which is a 3-syllable word. Man, that's a powerful word in a chant. And it's a great word, and it's a celebratory word. And they were able to get that. They were wearing their slogan and didn't know it. So all I did was help them with their voices say what their shirt was already saying. But it was after that I was thinking of Guy Carolan's. He would always sing. He had dementia, and at the end of his life, he would always sing one song: "Ain't you got a ride? Ain't you got a ride to the tree of life?" He could hang on to that one. It's based on Psalm 1. It's one of those old spirituals, and it became a powerful civil rights song. It's like, I've got it. We shall overcome. That song that was turned from I shall overcome to we shall overcome. The community shall overcome. So many songs available for us. So many songs. So I'd like to know, I'd love to hear some stories from you about when the song came after the event. You think, oh, this would have been the perfect one for that, which is how they often come to me, or when they came to you in the moment, or one where it didn't work, or ones where you've observed this made a big difference. This made a big difference. And I want to let you know about some things coming up. So I'm going to share my screen, or share my tabs. That's what I'm going to do. My fall session of classes, registration is open until this Saturday. I'm offering 5. First, a walk through the first 50 songs for novice, intermediate mountain dulcimer players, to go through some songs out of my first 50 songs by Hal Leonard. That's on Mondays. In the afternoon on Mondays, this is a follow-up class for slide dulcimer players, dulcibro players. I can slide Now What, where we're going to map out songs we already play on the mountain dulcimer, but how do they work in the slide environment on a 4-string instrument? Because it takes some strategy, and this is going to be a really workshop kind of class where you bring the songs you want to work on and we'll map them out together. And then on Tuesdays, arrange your next 50 songs. It takes a long time from the beginning to the finished product. It took 2 years for this book to come out. And so I may not have arranged the song that's your favorite. So this workshop is how do I arrange the other song that you didn't do by John Denver or Jim Croce or Carole King or insert instrument artist here. So this is also going to be very workshopy. I'm going to share the process I used, but we're going to workshop on your songs. And then for hammer dulcimer players on Wednesdays is going to be adapting the first 50 songs for the hammered dulcimer. So a lot of times as hammer dulcimer players, we get music that is not written specifically for hammer dulcimer, and we can be befuddled with how do I let my instrument do its best to play the song in all the ways I want it to. That's what this one's focused on. And it's the season. Advent is coming up, the season before Christmas. So on Tuesdays, beginning October 4th, not next week, but beginning October 4th, there's a little more time to do this one. And if you're a returning student, contact me about the alumni rate for this. But we'll work on first my dulcimer-friendly evening prayer service, and then we'll work on Advent tunes. And then in the last 4 weeks in December, we'll have a Zoom play-along prayer service, which I've done now for, this will be the 3rd or 4th year. Very, very powerful way to prepare for the holiday season. I also want to let you know about a brand new podcast that my buddy Aaron May Lewis and Phil Kramer, who turns out he's the son of one of my previous hammer dulcimer students. They are both folk music educators, youngish 20-30s kind of people who are interviewing people and talking about how do we do folk music education. And yesterday, this first topic showed up, which was their introduction to the podcast, introductions to each other. And I love podcasts because they can accompany me while I'm doing other things. And I was so supported while I was doing my other work while listening to this podcast. So I'm going to put all of that into our comment section. That's where you can find that podcast. And one other thing I want to call attention to is coming up. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday. We're tickled that Pam Bowman is going to be here from Michigan, and she's going to be leading us for our live event, which happens once a month. A Dulcimer Crossing workshop and mentor level students have access to this always, and the archive of those workshops. You can also, if you're just interested in hammer dulcimer or Pam or the tune Red Wing, she's going to shake it up and put some embellishment and some other things. Pam, well known from Everett and the Midland Dulcimer Festivals or folk music festivals in Michigan, is also a favorite in the Quarantune Festival. And you can, on the homepage of Dulcimer Crossing, you can just sign up for just one of her workshops and get the archive video, or as a workshop or mentor level student, you have access to all of those. Coming up next month is Kristen Hewitt from France. So, and Marilyn Mike will be with us in November. We're waiting to hear what her topic is. She's releasing her first solo recording right now, so it's very focused on that. So those are the things I want to let you know about. I'm so excited to be with you. I look forward to seeing you again. I look forward to hearing your stories about the songs that are the ones at the right moment that have changed history. Sometimes it's our individual history. Sometimes it's big history. But I'd love to hear your stories. And I'd love to hear the songs you're working on as well. So let us know. This live stream will be archived here on Facebook. It'll also be archived in our past events in the live events section of Dulcimer Crossing. So until next week, keep singing, keep playing.